Hi, everybody. Welcome to Touchpoints. I'm David Busanelli, founder of Studio 16 Architecture. This series is about the people, moments, and experiences that shape who we are, sometimes instantly, sometimes decades later. Each week, I share a story from my own journey, an influence, a connection, or a lesson that continues to impact my life and career. My hope is that these stories inspire reflection, spark conversation, and maybe even help you recognize the touch points in your own life. Today, I'd like to tell you about an architect and a friend named Stephen Perrella. Stephen unfortunately passed away about 12 or 15 years ago, and he had a huge impact on my life. Steve and I first met around 2000 when he was introduced by another architect friend to our Design Awards Committee, with the AIA Staten Island Design Awards Committee specifically, as we were formulating what we wanted the program to be all about. Now, Stephen came from a very intellectual background. He was involved in academia at the Columbia University Graduate School of Design. And he was the editor of Newsline, their magazine. So Stephen, in that environment, got to know some pretty impressive and famous architects. Peter Eisenman was one, and they were pretty close. Stephen Hull and Terrence Riley, who was at MoMA at the time and an architect in private practice, and James Corner, the founder and principal of Field Operations, a global incredible landscape architecture firm. Marlon Blackwell, who is an incredible architect in Arkansas and winner of the AIA gold medal, among others. So Steve and I had expressed a desire to collaborate on a project in some way, shape, or form. And that finally came around with the project for the St. Clair's Parish Center Early Childhood Development Center. When I was beginning the analysis of the project and how we needed to correct some serious problems within the building, I knew that it had to be a very fun environment because it was for their preschool program as well as being the Parish Center. And it needed to be something completely different, right? It couldn't be the static early childhood space with just adult scaled walls and things stuck on, like cute cartoon characters and things stuck to the wall, and very institutional, which is what unfortunately a lot of preschools were and still are. So I expressed this to Steve. He's like, yes, absolutely, I want to be involved in this. And we put our heads together and we designed the preschool project. It was a radical design using a theory of space and form that Stephen called hypersurfaces, that he was instrumental in developing up there at Columbia. And in a really broad brush, a hypersurface is, let's say, a wall that has multi-functions. It doesn't merely define a space and separate one room from another. It does other things, and it's animated, and it has shape and form and color and things like that. And it can take on many iterations. So that's the broad brush of a hypersurface. So when explaining this to me, we applied this theory to the preschool design, and it was a little scary. It was a little scary when we presented it to the parish, but a 30-member parish council, of which I was a member, approved it after the first presentation. No changes, which was like miraculous, absolutely miraculous. And it was ultimately built. So the point is that not only were Stephen and I friends, but it put me on a path. It opened my eyes and the eyes of my company to the possibilities for transformation that architecture has. And it truly was a transformative project for the parish because it solved huge problems. Functionally, aesthetically, there were HVAC problems, there were electrical issues, there was a whole host of things on a practical nature that had to be solved. But we shaped a space that represented both secular ideas and religious ideas, and blended a space that had to perform well for children of preschool age, and as well as for adults, and as well as function as a parish center. And it did all of that, and preschool enrollment doubled. So it would truly transform. And but not for Steve, I don't know if that project ever could have happened. And where we are with Studio 16 today probably would not have happened if not for Steve Perrella. So keep your eye out for those in your life who have done that for you, and reflect back on them and drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear about them, some of the touch points in your life. So thanks for joining me on this episode. I hope that these stories spark something meaningful in your own journey, reminding you of the people and moments that continue to shape who you are. New episodes premiere every Tuesday on LinkedIn and Instagram at 9:30 a.m. and on YouTube at 6:30 p.m. Like, follow, share, and let's talk about Touchpoints more together. Take care, all.